In preparing your home for sale, there are some areas that can be more challenging than others, and the basement and the laundry come to mind. Stay tuned and we'll talk about some ideas that should help. Hi, I'm Kelley Knitz of the Kelley Knitz Team. Thanks for joining me today. A prospect recently asked me, what can I do to make my basement more appealing? So the absolute first thing to do is to get rid of any smell of dampness. That is a real turnoff. You know, the smells really affect the buyer a lot. Make sure that the basement is well ventilated, and people generally don't expect too much from a basement other than it is dry. It seems as though the basement can be a catch-all for all kinds of stuff. This is a good time to get rid of things that you have been meaning to get rid of but just haven't had the time to. Or if you insist on keeping them, then you have to figure out a way how you can get them to look more organized and just make sure things are neatly stacked and hung up or whatever, but just make it look more organized. And when I show houses, I say that the basement really tells the whole story of the house, which is very true because that's where all the mechanicals and all the expensive things to replace are at, usually in the basement. So make sure that you take your furnace, take a good look at it, clean the filters, wipe off the top of the furnace, and just clean the exterior really well. It just gives the impression that it's been well maintained. It could be older, but you could still have it clean looking so that it appears as though it functions properly. Also, if you look at the hot water heater, just take a little dust rag and dust the top of that off also, and make sure that it appears like it's been well maintained also. If there's any missing fuses or breakers in the breaker box, as far as the electrical box goes, replace those and make sure that that's all nice and safe, because a home inspector is going to be looking at it and it just looks like it's in better working order when there aren't any missing breakers or fuses. So take care of that. And if you want to label the breaker box, that also looks very nice if it's nice and labeled, because that's a concern. Buyers always want to know which breaker goes to what. You know, it will just save them a big hassle to do that. And make sure that all the light switches work. The handrail on the stairway on the way down to the basement, make sure that's not wobbly and make sure that that is nice and solid. An unfinished basement should have a fresh coat of paint on the walls, but make sure you're using the right paint. If you use the wrong paint, it's just going to flake off and it gives the impression of moisture problems. So talk to somebody at Sherwin-Williams or a paint expert and get the right procedure down for painting basement walls. You could also have a nice area rug down there. It gives the impression that the space can be used as living space. And then you could have a drying rack near the laundry area, but just make sure not to have any of your personal items hanging to dry during the showing. And is it worth the money to finish your basement? That's a good question. If the home is a higher end home, some of that is expected to have a finished basement. It depends on the average sale price in the area. In Toledo, it's around, you know, like $140, but a nice basement is still a good selling point. So I wouldn't put a lot of money into finishing a basement. Is it worth the money to finish the basement? If the home is a higher end home, that's kind of expected to have a finished basement. The average sale price in the greater Toledo area is around $140, but a nice basement is still a good selling point. Some things you can do to make the basement look finished without spending a lot of money would be to use some indoor-outdoor carpet. That would give the impression of using that space for living space. And you could also paint the exterior walls. And I've actually seen some really cool paint jobs on the exterior walls that, you know, you could use an appearance that would make it look like it's a brick wall. It does take some time to do this, but if you look online, you can see some examples of people that have painted their basements to look like brick, and it's actually rather cool. You do not want to pay big bucks to have your basement professionally finished. Not in this marketplace. Don't overlook the value of doing some of the things yourself to make it more attractive. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for allowing me to share this information with you today. If you liked it and found it helpful, click the like button. If you want to subscribe and receive more videos, as soon as you subscribe, you'll get a notification that will tell you when the next video is available. And if you have any comments or suggestions yourself about how to market a basement in a home, or some helpful hints that you found in your experiences, we love to hear from other people. And if you have any questions, just leave them in the comment section below and we'll get the answers to you as soon as possible. Thanks again for joining us today.